If we were to go and make a design change to existing road crown's vertical design, the -2 and -5% design constraints will move, and the vertical design that we have applied over the top of those constraints will no longer be correct. Now, as we discussed earlier, we can simply go back to Auto Profile and click on Apply and Exit to rerun and match to those constraints. However, we're going to introduce you to a new tool which will show you how to match onto a surface instead of a constraint, and then look at how we can tie this together. So we're going to close down the vertical grading editor for our profile string, and we're going to open up the vertical grading editor for existing road crown. So I'm going to go up to the Roads tab, select Panel, Vertical Grading, and then left click somewhere near the center line. I'm going to move this over to one side. If you've got multiple screens, feel free to move it away onto another screen. Then I'm simply going to just open up a cross section somewhere around chainage 150 by right clicking in the vertical grading editor. What we want to do with the vertical design is to have the center line match onto the existing surface, so there's no difference. Now, previously, to achieve this, in the grading strings module, we've gone to the grid editor, which I'm just going to do now, and then we have clicked on the following button. That is a one-off process which will simply apply an IP at every sample onto the sampled surface, so we have very little control over this particular tool. I'm going to close down the grid editor. What we can do is use a tool in Auto Profile, so go ahead and click on that. The following option, Reference Surface, will allow us to match onto a surface with more control than what we had in the grid editor. So we're going to go ahead and click on that option. In the form, we can dictate a chainage range, so we could be matching onto any surface over any chainage range. We don't have to be matching on through the entire string. However, in this case, we will say from 0 to 1000. We're going to match onto the pasted surface. Again, with the grid editor, we're only matching onto the target surface, whereas with this tool, I can match onto any surface I want. When we use the design constraints, we had to use an additional fit parameters entry to add some smoothing. With reference surface, this is already built in. So what we might do is click on Use Fitting. As it matches onto the surface we've chosen, we can apply a tolerance in meters of cut and fill. So I'm just going to put in 30 mil by putting 0.03 and fill 0.03. If there was zero tolerance on one of those two, you can just simply put a 0. We're going to put a minimum vertical curve length, and I'm just going to put in 20. Whilst matching to the surface and applying these other parameters, we can ask it to add a level adjustment. So if there is a requirement to match onto this particular surface and add a particular value or subtract a particular value, we could put that in here. We're just going to leave that as blank for the time being. Let's click OK. Now again, if you've made a mistake with the entry, you can always click on the little pencil icon, making sure that you select the row first and then click on the pencil to edit and make any refinements that you need. If you want to remove the entry entirely, then you can simply click on the Delete Entry button. We're going to click on Apply and Exit, and you'll see in the vertical grading editor for existing road crown, we're now matching onto the pasted surface that we've chosen with vertical curves in between, giving us a relatively smooth design. The consequence is that the left edge of pitch bin is still in its original position, and because of that, we've now got some extremely sharp crossfalls. So what we need to do is go and adjust the left edge of bitumen and tell it to match back onto the constraint. So we're going to close down the vertical grading editor and the cross-section window, and we're going to open up the vertical grading editor for our profile string. So it should be fairly obvious in the vertical grading editor that the constraints are now in an entirely different position to where they were previously, and because of that, the vertical design is no longer matching. So what we're going to do is to rerun Auto Profile. Click on Auto Profile, click Apply and Exit, and the software has now matched back onto that constraint.